Chosen one. Heaven pauses for you. This moment is not coincidence, not an accident, not an algorithm that placed these words before your eyes. This is divine interruption. Heaven has pressed pause on the noise so that you might hear what was ordained before the foundation of the world. You are not ordinary. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You have been tested in silence, and you have passed. Think about it. Many moments in your life felt like the world was against you. You wondered why doors slammed shut while others walked through with ease. You questioned why you carried burdens so heavy, your knees nearly buckled. But heaven saw. Every hidden tear became testimony. Every silent sacrifice became seed in the soil of eternity. Let me tell you about a chosen one I once knew. She waited years for breakthrough. Friends mocked. Family doubted. And her prayers seemed to fall into a bottomless well. Yet she kept going. She refused to curse God in the drought. She worshipped when cupboards were bare. She gave when she barely had anything. She didn't know it. But all along, she was taking the exam of faith. Not written, but lived. And when the season shifted, provision flooded her life in ways she could not have manufactured. Heaven whispered, "You passed." That is the same whisper I deliver to you now. Heaven has not overlooked you. The trial was never random. It was refining fire. And you, chosen one, came forth as gold. Listen carefully. You are not here just to survive. You are here to step into divine sponsorship. God Himself has chosen to fund your life from this moment forward. No more striving in your own strength. No more begging men for scraps. Your name has been written on heaven's ledger. Resources will be released. Favor will find you. Provision will flow like rivers in a dry desert. Picture it like this: a great vault in heaven, sealed shut for years. Now, swinging open with your name engraved upon its doors. Inside lies not just money, but opportunities, connections, wisdom, and strength, all reserved for the one who passed the test. That one is you. It is written in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 8, verse 18. But remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth, and so confirms His covenant, which He swore to your ancestors. As it is today, this is the foundation of your new season, what you could not achieve by human hands. Heaven now establishes by divine covenant. Chosen one, let this truth pierce deeper than your doubts. The season where you felt invisible has ended. The season where you felt abandoned is over. The voice of heaven now calls your name, declaring that you are stepping into the provision of God. This is not the provision of the world, with strings and chains. This is heaven's supply, clean, unshakable, unending. Now, as you hear these words, respond in a simple act of agreement. If this resonates in your spirit, if you sense heaven speaking directly to you, pause and mark it publicly. Like this message. Share it so another chosen one can awaken. And subscribe so you do not miss the coming confirmations. And before you scroll, declare in the comments the number 818 as a sign of covenant wealth and divine partnership with God in this new chapter. You are not on the outside anymore. You are not standing in the shadows hoping to be noticed. Heaven pauses for you because you are noticed. The exam is finished. The verdict is in. You passed. And the funding of God begins now. The silent trials counted. Every moment that felt wasted has been tallied in heaven's record. You thought no one noticed the nights you cried yourself to sleep, or the mornings you rose while your body still ached from yesterday's battles. You thought your faithfulness disappeared into shadows, unseen and unrewarded. But nothing was hidden from the eyes of the one who called you. Not a single tear escaped his attention. Not a single sigh went unheard. There is a mystery about silence. When people turn away, when support vanishes, and when prayers seem to echo back empty, silence presses hard. Yet, silence does not mean abandonment. Silence is often heaven's way of weighing faith. In the quiet, your heart is exposed, and you endured. You stood, though shaky. You prayed, though weary. You kept moving, though the ground beneath you felt like quicksand. Think of it like a ledger in heaven. Every unseen sacrifice is written there. The night you chose forgiveness instead of revenge. The day you gave generously, though you lacked yourself. The moment you stood up for truth while others stayed silent. Each act looked small on earth, but on heaven's page, they are monuments. What you thought was loss became investment. What you thought was overlooked became evidence. Let me tell you a story of another chosen one. A man who once worked quietly behind the scenes, unnoticed. He lived faithfully, helping others succeed. But when his own turn came, doors slammed shut. Friends walked away. He felt invisible. For years he asked God why nothing shifted. Only later did he realize every lonely step had been counted. When the release finally came, opportunities burst open all at once. The ledger was opened, and everything he had sown in silence returned, multiplied. This is your story too. You are not forgotten. Every hardship, every rejection, every silent season, it all testifies that you endured the test. The apostle reminds us in his letter to the Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9, let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. These words are not abstract. They are the exact explanation of your journey. You sowed in tears, but heaven declares you will reap in joy. Consider the image of an artist painting in secret. No gallery, no applause, no one watching. Each brushstroke seems pointless, yet he continues. Years later, the canvas is revealed, and the world gasps at the masterpiece. That is your life. The silent strokes of obedience, the hidden colors of faith, the unnoticed lines of endurance, all combine into a story that heaven now unveils. Chosen one. The trials you thought broke you have only built you. Heaven has counted them, not to shame you, but to honor you. What others ignored, God recorded, and those records are about to speak louder than your wounds. And when they speak, the sound will be undeniable. Your life will testify that silence was not wasted, it was sacred. The wilderness was not punishment, it was preparation. The loneliness was not abandonment, it was the classroom where God Himself became your teacher. You may not have had applause, but you had His gaze. You may not have had recognition, but you had His record, and that is enough. So, take courage. The silence is closing, and the season of being unseen is ending. What was written in private will now be revealed in public. Heaven is about to honor what earth overlooked, and when it happens, You will know not a single moment of endurance was wasted. Every sigh was sacred. And now, the harvest begins. You carried what others dropped. Many were called to the same path you walked, but not all endured. Some turned back when the weight grew heavy. Others laid down the mantle when it pressed too hard against their shoulders. But you, though trembling, though weary, you chose to carry what others abandoned. That decision set you apart. That decision revealed who you truly are. You wondered why the pressure never seemed to lift. Why did it feel like you bore double the burden others carried? Because you were trusted with it. Heaven looked across the crowd, and while others said, "It is too much," you whispered, "Lord, I will keep going." That whisper was enough. God saw it as covenant, faithfulness. Think of Israel's priests in the wilderness. When the Ark of the Covenant had to move, not everyone touched it. Only those set apart carried its weight on their shoulders. It was sacred responsibility, and though others watched, it was the carriers who were closest to the holy presence. That has been your life. You carried what others could not. I once knew a young man who dreamed of ministry. Many around him began with fire, but soon they grew distracted. They sought applause, or comfort, or the easy road. He kept walking the narrow path. There were nights he wanted to drop it too, but something inside whispered, "Do not stop. Today." He is entrusted with platforms and responsibilities beyond his years. Why? Because he carried what others dropped. Chosen one. The weight you carried was not punishment. It was proof. Proof that heaven trusted you. Proof that you were strong enough to bear more. Proof that God was building endurance in you that no storm can erase. The ancient words recorded in the book of James, chapter 1, verses 2 and 3 declare, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. This is the evidence that your endurance was not wasted effort, but eternal investment." Picture yourself as a bridge spanning a rushing river. Many began building alongside you, but when the waters rose, their structures collapsed. Yours stood, though battered by waves, because your foundation was deep. Others saw only the storm. Heaven saw the strength being forged. And now, I want you to write in the comments these 3 words. I carried through. Say it not as empty repetition, but as a prophetic declaration over your life. When you type those words, you acknowledge the truth that you did not abandon your calling. You did not forsake the weight God entrusted to you. You carried it through the storm, through rejection, through silence, and through seasons where quitting looked easier. These words are more than a comment. They are your testimony. A public agreement that what once felt like a burden has become your badge of honor. Chosen one. What others rejected has become your testimony. The load that felt unbearable has turned into your crown. You carried what others dropped. And that is why heaven now carries you. And remember this, your crown is not just for decoration. It is for purpose. The very things that once bent your shoulders low will now become the reasons others look up to you. Your endurance has built a platform for others to step on. What nearly crushed you has now qualified you to lift others higher. The passing of the test is never announced with trumpets. At first, it comes quietly, like dawn spreading across the horizon before the sun rises in full. You rarely realize you are being examined while in the middle of the trial. The exhaustion, the confusion, the waiting, All of it was the exam itself. You did not receive a paper with questions. Instead, the test was written in your daily choices. Would you trust when nothing made sense? Would you sow when nothing returned? Would you stay faithful when silence pressed against your ears? Every yes whispered in weakness became a mark on heaven's paper. Every step forward, when you longed to retreat, was graded as victory. The truth is this: many are tested. Not all pass. Some grow bitter in silence. Others abandon their assignment when it becomes heavy. Yet you endured. You chose to believe when you had every reason to give up. You walked when your body and soul screamed for rest. That was your exam. And you passed. Think of Joseph in Egypt. He never knew every betrayal, every prison night. Every false accusation was shaping his report card. From pit to Potiphar's house to prison, Joseph lived in constant testing. Not until Pharaoh's call did he see those hidden trials leading to promotion. He didn't pass in one moment. He passed in years of hidden obedience. This is your story too. The reason your journey felt long is because the exam was not one question, but many. Sometimes patience, sometimes forgiveness, sometimes faith. Yet with each one, you carried through. Tests are sacred. They reveal the true nature within. Gold is not proven by shine, but by endurance in fire. Your faith is not proven in ease, but in days that demand every ounce of trust. Heaven does not grade like earth. Heaven looks not at appearance, but at the heart that still says, yes. Scripture says in the first letter of Peter, chapter 1, verse 7, "These trials will show that your faith is genuine. It is being tested as fire tests and purifies gold, though your faith is far more precious than mere gold." This is your explanation. You were not abandoned to struggle. You were placed in refining fire, so the true treasure could be revealed. Imagine a tree in winter. At first glance, it looks lifeless, stripped bare. Yet beneath the frozen ground, its roots die deeper. When spring comes, those roots become the foundation for blossoms beyond measure. That is you. Winter was not the end. It was the hidden test that proved your roots. And when heaven grades, the result is not a red mark. The result is favor, provision, and trust. Passing your test means you are now qualified for assignments you once could not carry. The crown that would have crushed you before now fits. The abundance that would have overwhelmed you then can now be stewarded. Chosen one, your exam is finished. Your faith has been measured. Your endurance weighed. Your obedience counted. The silence was the classroom. The tears were the ink. And your life became the testimony across the pages. And heaven's verdict has already been declared. You passed. Now the horizon brightens. What once felt hidden will soon be revealed. And every step you endured will unfold as evidence of glory written into your journey. Heaven's ledger opens. Imagine was toll, brighter than sunlight, where shelves stretch endlessly in every direction. Upon those shelves lie books not of stories written by authors, but of lives written by choices, prayers, and unseen sacrifices. In that place, your book rests, pages heavy with ink, filled with records of what you endured, every act of faith, every whispered prayer. Every time you pressed forward when quitting looked easier, all carefully noted by hands that never forget. Now, picture the moment when that book is opened. It is not opened by accident. It is opened because the test has been completed, because the waiting season has been fulfilled. The hand of God moves across the ledger, reading what others ignored, and heaven responds with release. Favor begins to move, provision begins to flow, and opportunities align with divine order. The ledger is no longer silent. The story of Job reminds us of this truth. He endured loss upon loss, stripped of family, wealth, and health. For a time, it seemed as though the heavens were closed. Yet in due season, the record of his endurance spoke loudly, and God restored him double what was taken. The ledger was opened, and what was once empty overflowed again. This is not distant history. This is your moment. You may not see it yet, but the pages of your ledger are turning. The ink of your tears has become the evidence heaven honors. The weight of your endurance has become the currency heaven releases. What you thought was silence was actually a record being written for the day of unveiling. The Word of God declares in the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 16, "Then those who feared the Lord talked with each other, and the Lord listened and heard. A scroll of remembrance was written in his presence concerning those who feared the Lord and honored his name." This scripture reveals the mystery. Nothing was missed. Even your quiet conversations with God, even your hidden moments of reverence, were written down. Now, pause with me. Imagine your life as a lamp being lit in a dark room. As the flame grows, others notice. Some are drawn, others are challenged. But the light cannot be hidden. That is what happens when the ledger opens. Your life shifts from silent endurance to radiant testimony. And here is where I invite you, gently, without force. If these words resonate with the deepest part of you, let your response be like lighting a candle in return. Press the like, share the flame. Let it travel further than you can reach alone. Subscribe, not out of pressure, but as a way of saying, I want to keep my light burning with others who carry the same fire. These actions are not commands, they are symbols. They are the physical reflection of an inner yes. And because when you participate, you are not simply engaging with content, you are joining the story. You are saying, I believe my ledger too is opening, and I will mark this moment as sacred. It is not duty. It is not habit. It is a prophetic act. A reminder that what is written in heaven is now unfolding on earth. Chosen one. The scroll has been opened, and your life is no longer hidden. The records of your endurance now demand release, and heaven's answer is already on the way. The ink of your sacrifice has become the oil of your anointing. The time of silent writing is over. The time of visible reward has begun. God becomes your sponsor. Think carefully about what this means. Until now, you may have depended on jobs, on people, on favors, or even on your own cleverness to make it through. But the season is shifting. You are stepping into a reality where your provision is no longer chained to men. Your life is now underwritten by heaven itself. When God sponsors you, everything changes. What once required begging becomes freely provided. What once depended on uncertain help becomes anchored in divine certainty. It does not mean you will never work again or never put effort forth. It means your work will no longer be carried by your own strength. It will be carried by His supply. Think of Ruth, the Moabite woman who left everything behind to follow Naomi into a foreign land. She had nothing, no inheritance, nor wealth, nor secure future. Yet heaven sponsored her. God aligned her steps to the field of Boaz. And what looked like coincidence was sponsorship in disguise. She did not strive for recognition, she simply obeyed in faith. And heaven ensured, provision met her there. From gleaning leftover grain, she was lifted into the lineage of kings. That is what divine sponsorship looks like. Perhaps you have felt like Ruth, entering places where you did not belong, unsure how you would survive. Yet, here you stand. Heaven is saying, you will not just scrape by, you will inherit. You will not only glean in the fields of others, you will be established in your own. The prophet Haggai declared in chapter 2, verse 8, "The silver is mine, and the gold is mine, declares the Lord Almighty." This is your anchor. If the resources of the earth belong to Him, then He is more than able to release what you need. God does not check earthly markets before He blesses you. He speaks, and creation obeys. I remember the story of a young woman who dreamed of opening a shelter for children. She had no wealthy backers, no grants, no connections. People told her it was impossible, yet she prayed, "God, if this is your vision, you will provide." Over time, doors opened. She could never have imagined funding arrived from strangers. Land was donated, and volunteers came from places she had never reached. She lived the testimony of sponsorship from heaven, chosen one. That same sponsorship now rests on you. You may not see all the details yet, but heaven has already signed the agreement. Where men close doors, God is unlocking gates. Where resources seemed empty, new streams will flow. Where connections seemed few, divinely assigned helpers will appear. Think of yourself like a tree planted in the desert, alone. It would wither quickly, but now, unseen rivers are flowing beneath your roots. The tree thrives, not because of what it sees, but because of what sustains it beneath the surface. You are that tree, sponsored by a source deeper than any human eye can perceive. And now, I ask you to mark this moment. Write in the comments the number 2244, not as superstition, but as prophetic agreement. 2 speaks of covenant, and 4 speaks of foundations. Together, 2244 is your declaration. My covenant is secure, and my foundation is funded by heaven. When you type it, you are not just writing numbers, you are aligning yourself with a season where God Himself becomes your sponsor. Chosen one. The days of striving in your own strength are ending. The hand of heaven now carries you. Your ledger is open. Your record has spoken, and your sponsorship has begun. The shift in atmosphere is subtle at first, like a gentle breeze that carries the scent of rain long before the storm arrives. You may not even notice it right away, but something begins to change around you. The heaviness you carried for so long loosens. The doors that seemed permanently locked begin to creak open. Conversations feel different. Opportunities appear in unlikely places, and even the air around you seems charged with expectancy. This is how divine provision announces itself quietly, steadily, unmistakably. When God declares you have passed, the evidence does not remain hidden forever. It manifests in the world around you. You wake up one morning, and suddenly the fear that once chained you feels weaker. A relationship that drained you suddenly no longer holds power. A job, a dream, a door that seemed unreachable now sends an invitation. These are not accidents. They are signals, signs that heaven has shifted the atmosphere on your behalf. The Bible shows this pattern again and again. When Paul and Silas sang hymns in prison, the atmosphere shifted before the chains fell. Their worship unlocked a realm in which the earth itself responded. The prison shook, doors flew open, and captives were set free. The shift always comes before the release. What begins invisibly soon becomes undeniable. I once met a man who had lived through years of delay. Nothing seemed to move. He prayed. He worked. He waited. Then one morning, things began to change. Not all at once, but in a string of small, surprising turns. He received a call from a company he hadn't applied to. An old debt was cancelled unexpectedly. An estranged relationship began to heal. One by one, the pieces fell into place until it became clear heaven had shifted the atmosphere, and his life was stepping into alignment. Chosen one. This is your reality. The shift may already be happening around you. Perhaps you sense unusual peace in the middle of what used to bring panic. Perhaps you notice doors opening with little effort on your part. Perhaps strangers show up as unexpected helpers. Do not dismiss these moments. They are not luck, they are evidence. Heaven is showing you that the exam has ended, the ledger has opened, and the sponsorship has begun. According to what is revealed in the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 19, See, I am doing a new thing, now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. This verse is not about distant history, it is your present reality. The way that seemed impossible is now being carved before your feet. Think of it as the first drops of rain falling after years of drought. At first, the ground only darkens in patches. Then, puddles begin to form. Soon after, streams run where cracks once lay. Before long, the desert is blooming. That is the nature of divine provision. It starts with subtle signs, but leads to undeniable transformation. The atmosphere around you is no longer the same. Where heaviness once pressed, freedom breathes. Where lack once echoed, supply whispers. Where rejection once closed doors, acceptance now beckons. Do not miss it. The shift is already here, and as it deepens, you will realize this is not coincidence, but covenant. The atmosphere itself bends because heaven has decided your time has come. Provision beyond logic. That is what marks the next chapter of your journey. Heaven's supply does not obey the rules of economy, nor does it bow to statistics or probabilities. It arrives in ways that bypass human reasoning, moving in patterns that make no sense to natural minds. Many will look at you in disbelief, unable to explain how things shifted so suddenly, but you will know it is the signature of God. Consider the feeding of the 5,000. Logic said there was not enough. 5 loaves and 2 fish could never satisfy such a multitude. Yet, in the hands of Jesus, what was insufficient became abundant. Not only was every person fed, but baskets of leftovers remained. That is provision beyond logic, more coming out than what was placed in. Heaven multiplies not by mathematics, but by faith. I once heard of a family with food for only a single week. They prayed, not for luxury, but daily bread. Each day, something unexpected arrived: groceries from a neighbor, a gift card in the mail, a forgotten debt repaid. Week after week, the supply never ran out until stability returned. None of it was coincidence. It was provision beyond logic. This is the rhythm you are entering. You may not see how the bills will be paid, how the dream will be funded, or how the journey will unfold. But provision is not limited to your calculations. What you call impossible, heaven calls natural, as was spoken in the sacred texts of old, specifically in the book of Exodus, chapter 16, verse 4. Then the Lord said to Moses, I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people are to go out each day and gather enough for that day. This is the picture of manna in the wilderness. No farms, no markets, no supply chains, just heaven's bakery opening over the desert. Logic was suspended. Provision was released. Chosen one. When God funds your life, the pathways of supply are endless. He may use people, but he is not bound to them. He may use opportunities, but he is not limited by them. The true source is not the channel. It is the God who commands streams in wastelands. Think of Elijah by the brook Cherith. Ravens brought him food, morning and evening. Birds, selfish creatures by nature, became divine delivery agents. Who could have planned such a thing? No one. It was provision beyond logic. And when the brook dried, God had already appointed a widow in Zarephath to sustain him. Again, logic said a poor widow could never provide. Yet her jar of flour and jug of oil did not run dry. So it will be with you. The river may dry, but the source remains. The channel may shift, but the supply is constant. What matters is not where it comes from, but who sends it. Picture yourself standing at a locked gate. You see no way through. Yet suddenly, a hidden door swings open beside it. You step through and realize the path was prepared long before you arrived. This is how heaven provides through doors you never saw, with means you never expected. Provision beyond logic does not mean you will understand it. It means you will live it. You will wake up and say, I should not have made it this far. Yet you will be standing in abundance. And in that moment, the only explanation left will be the simplest one. God did it. Enemies watch confused. They saw you in the valley, stumbling under burdens, mocked your prayers, and whispered that you would not last. They assumed the silence was proof of your defeat. Yet here you stand, entering a season where provision flows beyond logic, and those who doubted are left speechless. It has always been this way. Hannah wept at the temple while her rival provoked her year after year, certain her barrenness would be permanent. But when Samuel was born, heaven's answer silenced the mocking. Joseph's brothers sold him into slavery, convinced they had buried his dreams. Yet when famine came, they bowed before the very dreamer they betrayed. God's provision does not only bless you, it confuses those who opposed you. I remember a story of a man abandoned by his business partners. They thought stripping him of resources would end his calling. Yet months later, investors arrived from unexpected nations, and his work grew larger than ever. His enemies watched with disbelief as what they meant for harm became the foundation for expansion. That is the testimony of divine provision. It turns ridicule into revelation. The voice of God thundered in the book of Psalms, chapter 23, verse 5. You prepare a table before me, in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. The imagery is clear. Blessing is not hidden away. It is set in plain view. God does not wait until enemies are gone. He provides while they are watching. Imagine sitting at a banquet table while critics gather at the edges of the room. They cannot stop the meal, nor can they touch the oil poured over your head. All they can do is witness the overflow. That is where you are stepping into a season where the evidence of God's hand on your life is undeniable. Chosen one. You may have felt embarrassed in the past when others judged your lack. But this new chapter carries reversal. Where you were once ridiculed, you will now be respected. Where you were counted out, you will now be counted on. Where you were seen as empty, you will be revealed as overflowing. And in this moment, I want you to declare something simple yet powerful in the comments. God lifted me. When you write it, you are not just typing words. You are proclaiming that your story is no longer one of defeat, but of divine elevation. It is a testimony in advance, a declaration that you will not hide what God is doing, because your life is becoming a living parable. The very people who laughed at your struggle will become witnesses of your rising. Their confusion will only highlight God's glory. And when they ask how it happened, you will have only one answer. The hand of heaven lifted me. And this lifting is not just for display, it is for purpose. God raises you so others may see what faith can do. Your table is not a stage for pride, but a platform of testimony. Every overflow is an invitation for others to taste and see the goodness of the Lord. So, when enemies stand confused, don't let bitterness return. Let gratitude rise instead. What once mocked you will now marvel at you. And through your story, even hearts hardened by jealousy may turn toward hope. That is the deeper beauty of your elevation. It does not just prove your survival. It points to God's endless mercy. The crown of stewardship rests upon your head now. Not a crown for vanity. Not a crown for empty display. But a crown that testifies you have been trusted. Heaven does not pour out resources to waste them. Heaven entrusts them to faithful hands. You are stepping into that sacred responsibility. Think of Joseph once more, standing in Pharaoh's court. In a single day, he was lifted from prison into governance. But the purpose was never for Joseph to parade his success. It was for him to steward grain so nations could survive famine. His elevation carried responsibility. That is the nature of your crown. It is not decoration. It is delegation. Perhaps you feel unqualified. Perhaps you think, why me? Yet the crown does not rest on heads that merely desire it. It rests on those who endured for it. You carried the weight others dropped. You endured the test. You passed when silence pressed hardest. That is why this crown belongs to you. The Apostle Paul writes in the first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 2, "Now it is required that those who have been given a trust must prove faithful." This scripture speaks directly into your calling. The trust you are being given is not small. It carries weight, for it is designed to multiply blessing, not just for you, but for those connected to your life. Imagine a vineyard owner handing you the keys to acres of fruitful vines. The harvest is abundant, but it is not for you to consume alone. It is for you to distribute, to press into wine, to feed many. The owner entrusts you, not to hoard, but to steward. That is what heaven is doing now, placing vineyards of opportunity, rivers of provision, and fields of abundance into your hands, with the expectation that you will handle them with wisdom and stewardship. Chosen one is not a burden, it is a partnership. God provides the seed, but you decide how to plant it. He releases the rain, but you choose where the fields will grow. This is why your crown is precious, because it signifies trust. I once met a woman who unexpectedly inherited resources after years of financial struggle. At first, she thought the provision was for her comfort alone. But soon she felt stirred to use it to fund scholarships for children in her city. The impact multiplied far beyond her imagination. That is what stewardship looks like, turning blessing into legacy. Now, let this truth settle in your heart. You are wearing a crown, but it is invisible to the world until your actions reveal it. Each decision you make, each opportunity you handle with grace, each blessing you extend to others, is the shining of that crown. And as you hear this, I extend an invitation, not a demand. If these words stir something deep in you, let your response be like planting a seed. Press like, as if placing a stone upon an altar. Share this message as if passing a torch into someone else's night. Subscribe as if saying, I choose to walk continually in this stream of truth. These are not chores, they are symbols, living metaphors of your agreement. They are the gentle ways you say, yes, I will steward even this word well. For just as vineyards flourish when tended, so too does your soul flourish when you choose to engage intentionally. And in this act of stewardship, you align not only with words, but with heaven's rhythm itself. The crown of stewardship is yours. Wear it humbly, wear it wisely, and let its weight remind you daily, you were chosen not just to receive, but to multiply, doors only God could open. That is what begins to appear before you, now pathways you could never have engineered, invitations you could never have forced, opportunities so precisely timed that you know heaven itself authored them. For years you may have tried to push against walls that refused to move, knocking until your hands grew sore. Now, without striving, doors swing wide, because God Himself holds the keys. It is not every door, but the right doors. Some opportunities that looked glittering in the past were actually traps dressed as blessings. Heaven shut them, not to harm you, but to protect you. And though you may have felt rejected then, you will understand now. The closing of those doors was an act of mercy. The openings you are about to step through are acts of destiny. Think of Esther, the orphaned girl who never imagined she would enter a royal palace. No resume could qualify her. No strategy could orchestrate her rise. Yet the king extended the scepter, and a door opened that changed history. That door was not man-made, it was God-ordained. In the same way, doors are waiting for you, not because you are perfect, but because you are positioned. I once spoke with a man who had applied for dozens of positions and heard nothing back. Each closed door felt like a personal failure. Then, out of nowhere, a company reached out to him for a role. He never applied for one that perfectly aligned with his skills and passions. Looking back, he realized every silence had been steering him toward this precise opening. The hand of God had been guiding him all along. The writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 24, verse 7 declare, "Lift up your heads, you gates, be lifted up, you ancient doors, that the King of glory may come in." This is not only poetry, it is prophecy. When God arrives, doors that seemed ancient, immovable, and sealed for generations begin to lift. What no man could shift, His presence commands. Imagine standing in front of a mountain with no visible path. For years you circle its base, exhausted, searching for a way through. Then, one morning, a hidden tunnel appears, carved not by your hands but prepared long ago. That is the nature of divine doors. They are not built by you, they are revealed to you. Chosen one. Do not be surprised if invitations come from unexpected places. A phone call you never anticipated. A person who suddenly remembers your name. A project that aligns so perfectly with your purpose, it feels like it was waiting for you. These are not coincidences. They are keys in motion. The important truth is this: when God opens a door, no man can shut it. And when he shuts one, no man can pry it open. This is why you must rest in his timing. Anxiety may tempt you to force open doors that are not yours, but wisdom waits. Trust allows heaven to choose. And when the right door opens, you will walk through with peace, not pressure. Picture a hallway lined with doors. Some are bolted. Some are flimsy. Some lead nowhere. You try one. It resists. You try another. It squeaks, but closes again. Then suddenly, one door swings wide, light spilling into the hallway. You step through and realize it leads to exactly what you prayed for. That is the testimony you are walking into now. Doors only God could open. This is your inheritance. Step with faith. For the hand on the handle is not yours. It is his. Prophetic number released. There are moments when heaven asks for a sign, not because God needs proof, but because you need a marker in your own journey. A moment where you say, I will not forget what is happening right now. Numbers in Scripture often carried meaning. They were not random. They pointed to covenant, to seasons, to promises fulfilled. Think of the number 7, often symbolizing completion. When Joshua and Israel marched around Jericho 7 times, the walls collapsed, not by human might, but by divine intervention. Or the number 12, representing order and government. The 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 apostles called by Jesus. Numbers carry weight because they remind us of God's rhythm. Right now, heaven is asking you to declare one number in faith as a marker of your new season. Not because numbers are magic, but because they are memorials, prophetic symbols that declare something shifted here. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 18, verse 19. Again, truly, I tell you that if 2 of you on earth agree about anything they ask for, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven. Agreement releases power, and when you mark this moment with a prophetic act, you are stepping into agreement with heaven's provision. Picture the scene of Jacob at Bethel. After dreaming of the ladder reaching into heaven, he set up a stone as a memorial, pouring oil upon it. That stone was not powerful in itself, but it stood as a sign. God was here, and I will never forget. In the same way, the number you declare now is your stone of remembrance. I once knew a woman who struggled for years to find stability. During a time of prayer, she felt led to mark a number as a symbol of her faith. It became her reminder each time doubt whispered. Months later, when her life began to overflow with provision, she looked back and realized that moment was her Bethel, her memorial of faith. Chosen one. This is your invitation. In the comments, write the number 333. Let it be your declaration of divine alignment. 3 is the number of divine fullness, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. To write it 3 times is to declare, "My life is aligned with the fullness of God." This number is not superstition, it is proclamation. When you mark it, you are saying, "I believe my provision is sealed in the fullness of the Trinity." Now, let it sink in. This is not about writing digits on a screen. It is about anchoring your faith with a prophetic marker. It is about choosing a signpost you can look back on and say, "Here is where I believed heaven was funding my life." No, and as you do, know this: the moment you align with heaven's fullness, doors of provision swing wide. The ledger that was opened in silence begins to pour into your life openly, and the testimony of your faith will echo long after this moment. This echo is not faint, it grows louder with every step you take in faith. The number you write becomes like a banner over your life, reminding you that heaven is not silent. Each time doubt returns, you will remember, "I marked it, I believed, and God is faithful." Your light funds nations. This truth may feel overwhelming at first. You might wonder how your life, your testimony, your resources could possibly ripple beyond your own needs. Yet heaven's economy does not flow like earth's. When God sponsors you, the blessing rarely stops with you. It multiplies outward, touching lives, communities, even nations. What begins as provision in your hands becomes impact in the hands of many. Consider Abraham. He was promised not only land and descendants, but that through him, all nations of the earth shall be blessed. The covenant was personal, but its reach was global. Abraham's obedience planted seeds that continued to bear fruit thousands of years later. That is what happens when God funds a life. It becomes more than survival. It becomes generational influence. I once heard of a farmer in a small village who struggled for years with drought. After many seasons of lack, rain returned, and his harvest was greater than anything he had known. Instead of hoarding the abundance, he built storehouses and shared grain with neighboring villages. Soon, trade routes expanded, and the once forgotten region thrived. What began as provision for one man became sustenance for thousands. That is how God multiplies. Chosen one. The resources being released over your life are not random. They are strategic. You are not just being positioned to live comfortably, you are being equipped to impact. The supply that flows into your life will carry assignments attached to it. Some provision will be for your household, but some will be for the households you do not yet know. The writings of the prophet Isaiah in chapter 60, verse 3 declare, "Nations will come to your light, and kings to the brightness of your dawn." Light is not hidden, it draws. Nations are not moved by mere words, but by undeniable evidence of God's hand. Your provision, your peace, your breakthrough, they shine, and people will be drawn not to you, but to the God within you. Imagine yourself as a lighthouse on a stormy shore. Ships battling waves look desperately for direction. They do not need the lighthouse to move, they need it to shine. Your life, fueled by heaven's sponsorship, becomes that steady light, and as it shines, those lost in darkness find a way forward. This is why the blessing is larger than logic. If it were only about you, a small stream would suffice. But because it is about others, rivers must flow. Because it is about nations, storehouses must overflow. Your table is expanding, not for pride, but for purpose. There is a young teacher I once knew who started with nothing but passion. She invested in a handful of students in a poor community. Over time, her faithfulness attracted resources. Scholarships came, partners supported. Within years, that small class became a network of schools, impacting entire regions. What looked like one woman's calling became a nation's blessing. That is the pattern of divine provision. Chosen one. You may not yet see the scale, but heaven does. You are stepping into a season where your influence will outgrow your imagination. What was once barely enough for you will soon be more than enough for many. And when people ask, "How did this happen?" the answer will always circle back to the same truth. It was God who funded your life. Your light is not fragile. It is steady, anchored, fueled by a source that does not run dry. Nations will see it. Generations will benefit from it. And heaven will smile. For this was always the design. You are blessed to become a blessing. Acceleration, anointing. That is the phrase that best describes the next phase of your journey. For years, it felt like you were moving through thick mud, dragging your feet, watching others surge ahead while you seemed stuck. Every step cost you more strength than it should have, and the finish line always looked far away. But when heaven releases acceleration, time itself bends. What once took years can unfold in months. What seemed impossible in decades can be completed in days. Think of the prophet Elijah on Mount Carmel. After the drought broke and rain clouds formed, the hand of the Lord came upon him. He outran Ahab's chariot, an impossible feat in human strength. That was acceleration. Heaven's hand rested on him, and suddenly he accomplished what no man could by natural power. In the same way, you are stepping into a season where the hand of God will rest on your journey, and you will move faster than logic can explain. This is not about rushing. It is not about striving harder. Acceleration anointing is not the frantic pace of burnout. It is the supernatural speed of alignment. When heaven clears the path, resistance breaks, delays crumble, and progress multiplies. Imagine a river once blocked by boulders. For years, the flow was reduced to a trickle, but suddenly, the stones are removed, and the waters surge forward with unstoppable force. That is what is happening for you. I once met a man who worked faithfully in obscurity for over 20 years. No recognition, no platform, no apparent fruit. Then, within a single year, opportunities he never sought began to pour in. Doors opened so quickly that he could only stand in awe. He described it as God redeeming the time I thought I lost. That is acceleration. It is heaven saying, nothing was wasted. Now, watch how I multiply the years. The ancient words recorded in the book of Joel. Chapter 2, verse 25 declare, I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten. This is not only restoration, it is acceleration. The lost years are not returned one by one. They are compressed into blessings that overtake you. Picture yourself as a seed buried deep in the soil. For months, nothing seems to happen. Then suddenly, in a burst of days, the seed pushes through the ground, grows, and blossoms, from hidden stillness to visible fruit in a moment. That is the rhythm of acceleration. You may feel invisible for a season, But when the appointed time arrives, growth is rapid, undeniable, unstoppable. Chosen one, take heart. The slow years have not been wasted. They have been preparation, root work beneath the soil. Now, acceleration comes not to overwhelm you, but to position you exactly where you were always meant to be. What once crawled will now run. What once stalled will now soar. And through it all, heaven whispers the same promise: the time is redeemed, and the future is rushing toward you with divine speed. And when it comes, you will see the wisdom of the waiting years. They were not empty, they were foundations. They ensured you would not be destroyed by the very speed that now propels you. Every delay was shaping capacity. Every pause was training balance. Acceleration is no longer a threat, but a gift placed into steady hands. Kingdom investors arrive. This is a season where help will not come from the places you strained for, but from hearts and hands assigned by heaven, people you never begged, people you never manipulated, people you never even expected will begin to pour into your life. And they will do so not for their gain, but because they have been moved by God to partner with your calling. You may have been disappointed before. You may have experienced betrayal when those you trusted withheld support or mocked your vision. But that was not the final word. That was only the clearing of the stage, so the right ones could appear. Because when heaven assigns investors, they come without strings attached. They are not leeches that drain you, but rivers that refresh you. Think of the Shunammite woman who built a room for Elisha. She saw the prophet's calling and invested in it without being asked. That act opened the door to miracles in her own house. Or consider Lydia, the seller of purple cloth, who supported Paul's ministry. Her generosity became a foundation for the gospel's spread in Europe. Kingdom investors are not ordinary, they are divinely aligned. I once knew a man who carried a vision for years, but had no resources to make it real. Every attempt to raise support failed. Just as he was about to give up, strangers began to appear. One offered land, another covered expenses, a third provided connections. In less than a year, what had seemed impossible began to bloom. None of it came by manipulation. It came by alignment. Heaven had whispered to the right people, and they responded. The apostle reminds us in his second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 9, verse 8, "And God is able to bless you abundantly, so that in all things, at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work." This blessing is not selfish. It is fuel for kingdom work. When resources flow, they flow with purpose. Imagine your life as a garden. You have planted faithfully, tended carefully, but the soil looked dry. Then suddenly, clouds gather, and rain begins to fall, not a drizzle, but steady showers. The garden responds, bursting into fruit and color. That is what it feels like when kingdom investors arrive. They are the clouds carrying water to seeds you have guarded for years. Now, let me speak to your heart with gentleness. If these words stir something within you, let your response be more than silent agreement. Press like as if planting a seed into this garden. Share as if carrying water to another dry field. Subscribe as if saying, "I choose to remain under these rains of encouragement." And when you are ready, write in the comments your own reflection, as if etching your testimony into the soil. This is not duty, but beauty. Each action becomes part of the story, a living metaphor of your faith. Because what you do here is not mechanical, it is symbolic. When you engage, you are saying, I believe the rain is real. I believe the garden will grow. And in this way, you step into the rhythm of generosity, not only receiving, but becoming part of the flow. Chosen one, kingdom investors are on their way. You will not have to strive, not have to beg, not have to prove your worth. The ones sent by heaven will see the oil on your life and pour freely into it. And when they do, you will realize the garden you tended in silence is now blooming for all to see. The glory of the marked. That is the season into which you are now stepping. Glory does not mean glitter, nor does it mean applause from men. It is the unmistakable weight of God's presence upon your life, so evident that others cannot deny it. You carry the fragrance of heaven, and wherever you go, people sense it, even if they cannot explain it. There is a difference between those who walk in human recognition and those who walk under divine marking. Human recognition fades quickly. Applause today turns to silence tomorrow. But when God marks you, the glow does not dim. It deepens. It rests on you in the valley and shines on you on the mountain. Think of Moses descending from Mount Sinai. His face radiated with such glory that the people were afraid to approach him. He had no crown, no earthly ornaments. Yet the mark of God's presence was upon him. That is what glory does. It transforms you into a living testimony. I recall the story of a young woman who spent years in obscurity, often overlooked and dismissed. Yet she remained faithful in her quiet service. One day, during a small gathering, she began to speak words that pierced hearts. People who had never taken her seriously were stunned. They whispered to one another, "There is something different about her." It was not charisma, it was not training. It was glory, the mark of heaven, resting on her life. We are reminded through the writings of Paul in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 3, verse 18, "And we all, with unveiled faces, contemplate the Lord's glory, being transformed into his image with ever-increasing glory, which comes from the Lord, who is the Spirit." Glory is not an accessory, it is transformation. The more time you spend with God, the more his likeness shines through you. Chosen one, you carry scars. You carry memories of pain, rejection, and long nights. Yet those scars are not disfigurements. They are part of the glory. They are the proof that you endured, that you passed the test, that you belong to the company of the marked. People may see your smile now, but the power of that smile comes from the valley you walked through. Glory is never cheap. It is forged in fire. Imagine a clay pot placed in the furnace. Without fire, it remains fragile, breakable, ordinary. But after enduring heat, it emerges hardened, able to carry weight, and sometimes even glazed with beauty. That is your story. The fire you endured was not to destroy you, but to mark you. And now you emerge, not only stronger, but radiant. The glory of the marked is also a responsibility. It is not for pride, but for witness. People are drawn to the light of God upon you, not so they can worship you, but so they can encounter him through you. This is why the mark matters. It is a signpost pointing beyond yourself. There will be those who try to explain it away. They may say you were lucky, or that you finally got a break. But you will know that what rests on your life cannot be traced to luck or chance. It is the signature of heaven. etched into your story, undeniable and unshakable. And as you walk forward, remember this: the mark is permanent. You cannot wash it off. You cannot lose it through human opinion. It does not depend on popularity or position. It rests because God placed it, and no man can remove it. The glory of the marked is yours, and it shines now for all to see, sealed with divine guarantee. Every covenant God makes is more certain than stone, more enduring than the stars. What he has begun in you is not temporary, not fragile, not easily undone. It is sealed. Just as a king pressed his signet ring into hot wax to close a decree, so the hand of heaven has pressed its mark upon your life. That seal is the guarantee that no power of darkness can revoke your inheritance. Think of Noah after the flood. The rainbow painted across the sky was not simply beauty, it was seal, a divine guarantee that the waters would never again destroy the earth. God does not speak lightly. His seals are eternal promises, woven into creation itself. In the same way, your life carries marks of his covenant that cannot be erased. Chosen one, you have passed the test, carried the weight, endured the silence, and embraced the crown of stewardship. None of this is momentary emotion. It is eternal transaction. Heaven has written your name, and the ink cannot fade. The letter to the Ephesians, chapter 1, verses 13 and 14 reminds us, when you believed, you were marked in him with a seal, the promised Holy Spirit, who is a deposit guaranteeing our inheritance until the redemption of those who are God's possession. You are sealed, not with ink, not with human signatures, but with the Spirit of the living God. That seal is your guarantee that what has been promised will unfold, no matter the resistance. I once met a man who described his life as a series of closed doors. Every time something looked promising, it slipped away. He grew weary, questioning if God even remembered him. But in time, the pieces came together, not because he forced them, but because the appointed hour arrived. Looking back, he saw that the delays were not denial. They were proof that what was meant for him was sealed. Nothing and no one could have taken it away. Sealed things cannot be tampered with. When Daniel was thrown into the lion's den, the stone was sealed with the king's ring, so no one could interfere. Yet, heaven had already sealed Daniel's life with divine protection. The lions' mouths were closed, because God's seal overruled the king's. That is your confidence. Earthly seals cannot override divine ones. Imagine holding a letter in your hands, wax pressed firmly upon its fold. You know at once that what is inside belongs to someone specific, and no one else may claim it. That is how heaven sees you. You are the letter, and the seal declares, "This one is mine, unchosen one." This season is not fragile hope. It is not wishful thinking. It is certainty. Every provision, every promise, every door, every crown, it is guaranteed because it has been sealed. The treasury of heaven has been assigned to your name, and the mark of the Spirit ensures it will reach you. So walk forward with assurance. You do not have to beg for what has already been decreed. You do not have to fear losing what has already been sealed. The guarantee rests not on your strength, but on His faithfulness. And His faithfulness never fails. Your story is now a covenant story. Your steps are now covenant steps. And your future is guaranteed by the one who cannot lie. You are sealed, and the seal will stand forever. Chosen one, you have reached the closing of this message. Yet it is not an ending. It is a threshold. You have journeyed through trials, tests, silence, provision, crowns, and seals. Each word you have received was not coincidence. It was confirmation. Heaven has whispered over and over, "You passed, and now your life will be funded by God Himself." Look back for a moment. The tears that once felt wasted became ink in heaven's ledger. The weight you carried became proof of trust. The silence that nearly broke you became the classroom of faith. And now, you step into a season where those hidden chapters become visible testimony. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was forgotten. Every scar has become part of the crown you wear. You are not only surviving, you are shining. Your story will feed others. Your testimony will guide others. And your light will carry into places you have not yet seen. The mark of heaven on your life is not temporary, it is eternal. And the future ahead of you is radiant with promise. Now, let your response rise, not as obligation, but as beauty. Press like as if planting your yes into the soil of this word. Share as though you are passing a torch into someone else's darkness. Subscribe as if you are choosing to remain connected to a stream of encouragement that reminds you of who you are. And finally, write in the comments your reflection. A line that says, "This is my season," or whatever your heart feels. These are not tasks. They are symbols, living metaphors of alignment and faith. Chosen one, walk forward with confidence. You are funded, you are crowned, and you are sealed. The story unfolding from this moment will be more beautiful than you dared to dream.